Folks are waking up in a bit of a different mood than 24 hours ago. Kevin Hincks, co-host of Fast Market Live from the CBOE, is here. I'm so glad you're here because yesterday morning, what a different morning it was. We all hadn't slept. We were worried about the futures from Sunday night into Monday. A different vibe at the moment. And now it becomes, is this just a pause? Are we expecting more volatility? Some of your thoughts on what you're hearing. Good morning, Kevin.
Good morning, Nicole. Well, the answer to are you expecting more volatility? The answer is yes. But volatility on the upside will bring VIX down. Now, yesterday morning, as you know, the VIX hit a high of around 60. Well, it's currently down closer to 40 now than it is. So what you're seeing is what the market does historically, Nicole, in something like this. It works its way to the worst case scenario and then works its way back off of that scenario. And I think that's what you're seeing here. I thought some of the discussion topics about 50 countries, now 70 countries calling the Trump administration to try to negotiate new trade policies is significant. I think China talking about fight to the end, while Scott Bessent on TV this morning talking about they're playing a losing hand. We buy 5 times the products from China that they buy from us. So they're not playing a strong hand when negotiating trade talks like that. We got some financial data this morning. NFIB dropped to 97.4, but this is a headline-driven market right now, Nicole. And the fact that Benjamin Netanyahu, that press conference yesterday afternoon was, I think, significant, although he talked about quickly reducing all of the tariffs and trade barriers with Israel and how they could be a model for the rest of the countries to use. I think all those things, the overall temperature is coming down, and that's, got futures, like you mentioned, up over 2% this morning. The VIX coming down. You've got gold higher. You've got Bitcoin higher. Crude oil, however, not really rallying off that $61 level, right around that same area. But all things considered, the temperature of this market is coming down, and people are now starting to look for deals out there. I think it's going to be an interesting day. Doesn't mean choppy markets are done. I still expect a fair amount of choppy market. Even though the VIX is coming down, it's still a 40. Nicole, that's still a big number there.
Yeah, there's so much that we're taking in this morning. I think the first part is people are so worried about their 401k and IRA. They'll be very happy because people have been pretty upset, to say the least, to wake up and see 1,100 points to the upside on the Dow or 900 points on the upside to the Dow. I think they'll take it this morning. To your point on Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, talking and saying that China in particular really upping the trade war game and playing a losing hand. I heard that interview, and he said they're playing with a pair of twos. I thought that was very apropos.
I saw that too. His analogy is accurate because when trying to negotiate trade policy with the U.S., we buy 5 times more products than they buy from us. What they buy from us is grains and energy. And so that's just not the same. And when you hear companies like Shein trying to move production out of China, and so China is they're coming to a point now where they need to start negotiating and stop making statements like, we'll fight to the end. So I think this is going to play out. It's going to, we're not out of the woods yet. There's still a lot of negotiations, but what you're seeing is some of the trends coming off the worst case scenarios. I think that's why you're seeing the VIX down today from 47 level down to a 40 level. We'll see how it plays out throughout the day. But remember, you've got some pretty big, large cap names significantly off its highs. And remember, Friday starts earnings season when we get the banks out. We'll get CPI on Thursday. The numbers there are expected to be lower year over year than they were. So we're looking for a pretty solid number Thursday from CPI. So there's a lot of good things. The hard economic data is all showing improvement, Nicole. Right. But right now, it's headlines. And headlines coming out on an hourly basis are what driving stocks right now, Nicole.
Yeah, really interesting. I mean, one thing I will say is that as we look forward here, I will say we're well off the highs. I mean, we're not at 5,500, we're not at 5,800. All the banks are bringing down their year-end targets, many of which were at 6,500, 67. Now they're closer to 6,000 and even under 6,000 for the S&P by the end of the year. So the folks that, look, the major indices last 3 sessions, the S&P is down 10.7%. So it's nice to see some up arrows, but we're still down 10%. And that's certainly the other two things. I mean, I want to talk about the small business optimism, the largest monthly decline since 2022. I want to hear a little more about that, coupled with Larry Fink yesterday from BlackRock saying that he's been speaking to a lot of CEOs who some think we're already in a recession. Some of your thoughts here on the maybe lack of optimism.
Yeah, I thought some of Larry Fink's comments yesterday were a bit irresponsible, but he's allowed his opinion. There's opinions everywhere. Analysts have opinions, right? Those analysts that were raising their targets to 7,000 at the end of last year are now lowering them. Well, guess what, Nicole? If we get a couple days of rally or a simmering of the temperatures, those analyst predictions will go right back to where they were, as you know. Now, getting to the NFIB. Yes, the number did come down to 97.4. Here's some of the comments from their chief economist. The implementation of new policy priorities has heightened the level of uncertainty among small business owners. Over the past few months, small business owners have scaled back expectations on sales growth as they better understand how the rearrangements might impact them. So more uncertainty, right? He's clearly reflecting what we've been talking about in the markets for several days here is there's uncertainty. Stocks don't like uncertainty. That said, this morning, there's less uncertainty. And that's what you're seeing in the markets this morning. That's why the futures are higher. So I think we were at peak uncertainty, peak pessimism coming into Monday mornings. We're off those numbers now, Nicole.
Kevin Hincks, great to chat with you this morning. Always a pleasure. Thank you, Kevin, there at the CBOE.